Hey, sleepy listener. Welcome to Sleeping Podcast. Where in the world are you listening from? Let us know in the comments. And if you're ready to drift off, like and subscribe. And let's begin. Let me tell you, slowly and softly, about the room where I spend most of my nights. It is not a grand room, nor a place of noise or chatter. It is a quiet chamber, tucked away at the far end of my home, where the walls lean in as though they too are listening to the silence. When I step inside, I always feel that the air itself is gentler here, as if it has been resting for a very long time and is in no hurry to move. The room is small, though the shelves make it seem full. Every surface softened by the presence of rolled maps and faded star charts. Each one carries the scent of time, ink that has long dried, parchment that has mellowed to a warm ivory, the faint trace of dust that settles only in places where no one hurries to disturb it. This is my study, though I do not call it a place of work. To me, it is a place of slowing, of breathing more deeply, of letting the hours drift as gently as smoke through still air. When I step through its wooden door, and the quietness here spreads through me like a soft tide. A single lamp rests on my table, its flame shielded by colored glass. It does not burn brightly, nor does it need to. Its glow is warm and muted, like honey poured into a shallow bowl, spilling its golden softness across the table. That glow touches the edges of my paper, the curves of the ink bottle, the feathered quills waiting to be lifted. Shadows lean long across the shelves, draping themselves lazily among the maps that stand like silent companions in the dim light. There is always a scent lingering here, gentle and constant. The sharp sweetness of ink, the papery dryness of parchment, the faint, earthy smell of wood, warmed by years. Together, they create an atmosphere that feels both ancient and tender, like a library that has been dreaming in silence for centuries. When I breathe it in, I feel as though I am inhaling time itself, softened by patience. I have often asked myself why I began mapping the night sky. It was not because anyone demanded it of me. No ruler asked for my service. No academy summoned my hands. It began simply, quietly. One evening, when I could not sleep, I remember sitting at this very desk, staring at an empty sheet, and feeling how my restless mind softened as I let the quill glide, tracing nothing more than a curve, a mark, a gentle point. At first it was play. Then it became rhythm. Then, slowly, it became a practice of stillness, a way to hold the night close without clutching at it. I do not draw to possess the stars. I draw to listen to them, to sit in their company, to let their patience shining remind me of what it means to rest. Each map I create is not meant to be exact or commanding. It is not a tool to guide ships, nor a record for scholars. Instead, each one is a mirror of a moment, a reflection of how the night felt as it breathed above me. When I draw, I am not charting distance and coordinates. I am charting quietness, charting calm. The table beneath my hands has grown smooth over years of use. I often let my fingertips wander across its wooden grain before I begin. The wood is cool in places where shadows linger, warmer where the lamp has touched it. I enjoy that simple sensation, the way my skin listens to the surface before I reach for the quill. The quills themselves are light, balanced, their feathers catching just a faint shimmer of gold from the lamp's glow. When I hold one, I feel as though I am holding a piece of silence, ready to be laid gently onto the waiting paper. When the nib touches the parchment, there is a sound so soft it might be mistaken for silence itself. A faint scratching, a whisper of motion, like a moth brushing against a window. I linger in that sound, letting it settle into me. Each stroke is slow, each line unhurried. I do not need to hurry. The night does not hurry. The stars above drift through their endless arcs with infinite patience, and I let my hand follow their rhythm. Outside, if I pause to listen, I can hear the night air pressing softly against the walls of my study. Sometimes it carries the faint hoot of an owl in the distance, or the rustle of a breeze in the leaves beyond my window. More often, it is simply the quiet of darkness, the kind that feels like a vast, gentle blanket drawn over the world. That soundless presence becomes part of my work. I imagine the ink itself carries within it some trace of that stillness, settling into the paper like a captured sigh. There are moments when I stop, quill in hand, and simply breathe. I watch the way the lamp flame trembles, how its reflection shivers faintly in the bottle of ink, how the parchment seems to glow softly from within, as though it too is awake and listening. Those are the moments I love most. The pauses, the spaces between marks, when the room feels almost alive with calm. And as I sit here, describing this to you, I realize that my maps are less about the stars and more about the feeling of drawing them. The way each line invites me to release a little more of the day. The way each dot of ink becomes a point of rest, a reminder that stillness can be written into the fabric of the night, one quiet motion at a time. I have grown fond of that rhythm, the slow circling of my hand, the rise and fall of my breath, the faint hum of silence that surrounds me. In this room, I do not chase the hours. They unfold gently, like petals opening in darkness, without demand, without urgency. If you are listening, I invite you to rest here with me in this quiet map room. There is no need to do anything, no need to follow every word or every detail. The story will carry you as the stars carry the night. You may allow yourself to drift, to soften, to breathe with the same patience that I bring to these pages. For here, there is only calm. When the ink has settled and the lamp hums gently at my side, I sometimes feel the quietness of the room grow so deep that it urges me outward. The walls, kind though they are, hold the stillness close, but the night beyond promises an even wider silence. And so I rise, slowly, carefully, leaving the quill to rest and the paper to breathe. My steps carry me across the wooden floor, each movement unhurried, each sound softened by the hush that hangs in the air. I open the door, and the night greets me with the tender coolness of a familiar friend. I step barefoot into the garden, where the earth feels alive beneath my skin. The soil is soft and welcoming, a gentle cushion that gives slightly under each step. Blades of grass bow lightly, tickling my toes, cool and damp from the breath of evening dew. With every touch, I feel grounded, as though the earth itself is rocking me with its steady patience. I pause, sinking my feet into the grass, letting it embrace me as the night unfolds overhead. The air outside is not sharp or demanding. It does not press against me with weight, but rests upon me like a lullaby, a delicate blanket of calm stretched from horizon to horizon. I close my eyes for a moment, and I feel it brushing against my skin, cool yet kind, like water flowing slowly over stone. Breathing it in, I taste the freshness of herbs nearby, lavender with its gentle sweetness, rosemary with its subtle strength, mint with its quiet coolness. Their scents weave together into an invisible song that hums through the garden, soothing without ever needing words. Around me, the garden rests in silver. The moon has risen, and her light spills across every leaf, every petal, every shadow. It is a light that does not blaze, but caresses, softening each edge and turning the simplest shapes into gentle wonders. The stones along the path shine faintly, as though washed by liquid pearl. The flowers nod in stillness, their colors muted into quiet shades, their faces folded inward, sleeping in the moon's embrace. I wander slowly, letting each step be its own small journey. The soil shifts beneath me, the grass parts and springs back. The herbs release faint sighs of fragrance where I brush against them. I move without haste, without purpose, other than to be present in this silence. There is no destination. There is only this gentle unfolding of one moment into the next. Above, the sky spreads vast and endless, a dark canvas scattered with glimmering stars. I lift my gaze, and at once I feel both small and infinite, as though my breath has joined theirs in the great rhythm of the universe. The stars do not shout, they do not blaze, they simply endure, quiet points of light resting in the darkness. And I, standing barefoot in my garden, feel as though I am part of their patient constellation. I lift my hand and trace the air with my fingertip, following the paths of the stars. Slowly, I sketch their lines in the sky, invisible yet deeply felt. Here, a curve that arcs across the heavens, like the sweep of a gentle river. There, a cluster gathered like seeds in the palm of the night. Each motion of my hand is tender, unhurried, as though the stars themselves have slowed their movements to meet me in my rhythm. The constellations are not puzzles I seek to solve. They are quiet companions. As I trace their outlines, I feel no need to name them, no urge to capture their stories. I simply let them be as they are, still, luminous, endless. They are not asking for anything, not urging me forward. They are simply present, And in their presence, I too am allowed to simply be. There is a wonder in this, but it is a wonder without urgency. It does not rush the heart or stir the mind into frenzy. It is the wonder of seeing what has always been here, waiting patiently. The sky does not demand applause. It waits, and in its waiting, it soothes. Each star I breathe more deeply, feeling the air flow in and out of me as naturally as the tide. Each breath carries me further into the night's embrace, further into stillness. My shoulders release their weight, my hands grow light, my body softens into the rhythm of earth and sky. There is nothing I must do now, no map to complete, no measure to keep, no task that calls for haste. There is only this garden, this sky, this breath. I say it to myself, and I say it to you as well, if you are listening. There is nothing you must do now. Only drift with me beneath the sky. You may imagine yourself here if you wish, standing barefoot in the moonlit grass, feeling the softness beneath your feet, the cool air brushing your skin, the fragrance of herbs weaving through your breath. You may look upward with me, following the slow arcs of the stars with your own hand, or with nothing more than the quiet turning of your eyes. Together we stand, though apart, beneath this endless roof of darkness scattered with light. Together we breathe. Together we let the silence of the night surround us. And in this shared stillness, there is comfort, like being wrapped in a blanket woven from air and light. The garden holds us without asking. The stars shine without expectation. The night carries us gently, without effort. And we too may rest here, without needing to move, without needing to strive, simply being, simply breathing, simply drifting with the sky. And so I remain, standing in my garden, gazing upward, letting time dissolve into the slow rhythm of the stars. The grass beneath me, the air around me, the constellations above me, all of it whispering softly, reminding me of the simplest truth, that stillness is enough, that being here, now, in this quiet, is already complete. From the garden, where the herbs breathe their fragrance into the night, a narrow path leads me further outward. It curves between clusters of tall grasses, and I follow it slowly, my feet brushing against their whispering blades. Each step is unhurried, as though the earth itself wishes me to linger, not to arrive too quickly. The moon follows me, spilling her silver light across the path, guiding me toward the sound I know waits ahead. It begins faint, a hush at the edges of hearing, like the softest murmur of a voice spoken in sleep. Step by step, it grows clearer, though never loud, never demanding. It is the sound of water. A river rests nearby, small and calm, moving through the land with the patience of centuries. I come to its edge, where the grass gives way to soft earth, cool and pliant beneath my feet. The river is quiet tonight, but not still. Its surface shivers gently, carrying the reflections of the stars as though they too have chosen to drift upon its back. The moon stretches long across the water, a silver path drawn out in light, trembling with each delicate ripple. I pause, breathing in the freshness that rises from the current, a coolness that seems to wash through me even without touch. I lower myself slowly to sit at the edge, where the soil yields to my weight, where the reeds sway faintly in the night's breath. The sound of the river is steady, a soft rhythm flowing onward without haste. It does not rush, it does not falter. It moves with the ease of one who knows there is no need to arrive, only to continue. I watch as the water bends around stones, ripples fanning outward in gentle circles. They widen slowly, one after another, until they blur into the whole of the current. The sight carries me inward, reminding me of the way thoughts drift through a drowsy mind, appearing, widening, fading back into the stillness. Nothing to hold, nothing to chase. Each thought, like each ripple, rises and passes, leaving the surface calm once again. The water moves slowly, as I move slowly, as you move slowly too. I whisper this truth. I lean forward, gazing into the mirror of the river. There, the sky has been doubled, stars floating in the dark surface, as though a second heaven has been laid beneath me. Each light above has a twin below, trembling softly with the current. It is though I am caught between two skies, the one above, endless and vast, and the one below, intimate and shifting. I lift a finger and trace a constellation in the air, then see its reflection ripple faintly beneath me. Above and below, the lines connect, the stars echoing themselves. It feels almost like breathing, the inhale of the sky above, the exhale of its mirrored self below. The river holds these fragments of light not as possessions, but as guests, carrying them gently, returning them endlessly to the darkness from which they came. I wonder, softly, if perhaps my maps are the same. Not attempts to claim the stars, but invitations for them to rest upon my pages for a time. Before they drift on, the current continues, and I let its sound seep into me. A faint hush, a liquid sigh, flowing without beginning, without end. It soothes the edges of my thoughts, sanding them smooth, like pebbles resting on the riverbed. I imagine the water flowing also through me, moving softly through every corner of my being, loosening the last knots of wakefulness, carrying me closer to rest. The water moves slowly, as I move slowly, as you move slowly too. Repetition becomes rhythm. Rhythm becomes rest. I let my gaze soften, the sharpness of sight dissolving. The stars blur slightly, their reflections smearing across the trembling surface. The river becomes not lines and shapes, but a gentle silver haze, endless and forgiving. It feels almost like closing the eyes while still awake, seeing not with vision, but with presence. Somewhere downstream, perhaps miles away, the river may join another, and that one another still, until at last it finds the sea. But here, where I sit, there is no sea to think of, no distance to imagine. Only this small curve of water, this slow passage of silver, this present moment stretched endlessly like the moon's reflection. Above me, the constellations remain. Below me, they drift upon the current. Between them, I sit, barefoot, breathing, unhurried. The stars remind me that even vastness can be still. The river reminds me that even motion can be soft. Together, they create a balance, a lullaby of sky and water, endless and calm. I place my hand upon the ground, feeling the cool earth, damp with the river's breath. It anchors me gently, holding me as the current passes, holding me as the stars watch on. And I think, perhaps the water moves slowly. As I move slowly, as you move slowly too. I let the words fade, like ripples reaching their edge, disappearing into the greater quiet. The river continues to flow. The stars continue to shine. The earth continues to hold me. And within that endless continuity, I too feel no need to stir, no need to strive. It is enough simply to sit here, watching the sky above and below, drifting with the river of reflection. After resting by the river for a time that seemed both endless and fleeting, I felt the quiet urge to unfold another page, to let the night continue its conversation upon paper. I rose slowly, carrying with me not tools of labor, but companions of stillness, a sheet of blank parchment, smooth and pale, a quill light as a feathered whisper, and the bottle of ink whose depths reflect the darkness above. I lay the parchment gently upon a flat stone, where the moon's its emptiness, not a void, but a quiet invitation. I rested my palm upon it first, letting it feel the warmth of my skin, as though to assure it that what I placed there would be offered with care. The paper did not resist. It welcomed me, silent and open, as the stars had done. The ink, when I uncorked its vessel, shimmered faintly in the lantern's glow, though in truth, it was the color of night itself, deep, fluid, endless. When the quill dipped into it, I thought of how the nib was like a branch drinking from a stream, drawing into itself what would soon become a new reflection of the sky. I lifted it slowly, letting a single droplet cling to its tip, round and perfect, before touching it gently to the parchment. The first line was faint, no more than a whisper across the page. Yet it felt as though the night itself had sighed into form. I moved slowly, curving the stroke with care, as though tracing the gentle path of a star from one horizon to another. The sound of the quill was soft, a breath against silence, each mark almost dissolving as soon as it appeared, folding itself into the page as though it had always belonged there. I did not hurry. I never do. Each line was a pause stretched outward, a moment of stillness captured. Between strokes, I would lift my eyes to the sky, letting the vastness above remind me of the rhythm of patience. Then I would return, quill meeting parchment, continuing the quiet conversation between hand and star. The ink flowed like liquid night, smooth and unbroken, slipping into the page, though still, felt alive under my hand. Each stroke brought a subtle texture, a breath woven into its body, as though the paper too was learning to inhale the night, to exhale into form. And as I drew, I thought of how maps are often seen as instruments of control, as ways to measure, to own, to command. Yet here, beneath the stars, I felt none of that. These lines were not orders, but offerings. They were not boundaries, but invitations. Each point of ink was not a claim upon the heavens, but a resting place, a reminder that the stars need no possession to be part of us. I traced the faint outlines of a constellation, its shape less rigid than memory, more fluid, like water remembering the stones it passed over. My lines were gentle, never exact, for perfection has no place in rest. What I drew was not the sky itself, but the feeling of it, the calm vastness, the slow patience, the way light endures without asking for notice. Every line is soft, and every star is a resting place. I whispered this truth to myself, perhaps also to you, so that it might sink deeper, like ink into paper, like stars into the dark. The map is not here to guide us somewhere else. It is here to remind us that we are already where we need to be, beneath the sky, breathing with it, sharing in its stillness. The page began to fill, though not with urgency. Each mark spread outward like ripples in water, slow and inevitable. The constellations emerged not as diagrams, but as gentle gestures, as though the night were teaching me how to listen by drawing its voice across the paper. I paused often, setting down the quill to rest my hand upon the cool stone, to feel the quiet of the river still murmuring nearby, to let the breeze move softly across my skin. In those pauses, I realized the map was never mine alone. It was the river's, carrying reflections. It was the garden's, breathing fragrance. It was the sky's, spilling its patient light. My hand was merely the space where these voices met for a while. Returning to the page, I touched ink to parchment once more, tracing another arc, another cluster, another star. My page began to hold echoes of both, the steady and the trembling, the vast and the intimate. Every line is soft, and every star is a resting place. I let the phrase repeat in me, like the flow of the river, like the slow turning of the heavens. I let it anchor me, let it cradle the thoughts that rose and fell like ripples across the surface of my mind. There was no need to chase them, no need to resist them. Each thought was a star, each star a pause, each pause a place to rest. The night deepened around me, but it did not grow heavy. It grew lighter, softer, as though each passing moment was a hand smoothing a blanket across the earth. I continued tracing, continued breathing, continued resting within the rhythm of lines and spaces. And as the map unfolded beneath my hand, I felt less like a maker, more like a witness, someone simply watching the night reveal itself upon the page. There is a peace in that, a peace I hope you feel as you drift here with me. You do not need to follow each line. You do not need to see every star. The page will hold them, the night will hold them, and they will hold you. All you need is to rest, to let the ink of silence write itself gently across your thoughts, to let the stars of calm scatter softly through your breath. Every line is soft, and every star is a resting place. And so I draw, and so I rest, and so the night itself becomes a map of stillness, leading not outward, but inward, to the quiet that has always been waiting. The night had deepened, its stillness spreading wide, yet my page was beginning to fade into shadow. The moon, though generous, had slipped behind a veil of clouds, softening its silver light until the parchment before me became no more than a pale blur. Did not mind the dimness, for the nature of night to ebb and flow. Yet I felt a quiet longing to see the shapes I had laid down more clearly. And so, with hands unhurried, I reached for a small lantern at my side. Its surface was cool to the touch, the metal smooth from many evenings of keeping me company. When I lifted it, I could hear the faint shift of oil within, like the murmur of a hidden stream. I set it carefully upon the stone beside the parchment and struck a gentle spark. The wick caught at once, and a soft flame began to rise, curling upward as though it were stretching after a long sleep. The glow spread slowly, filling the circle around me with gold. It was not the sharp light of day, but a tender one, mellow and forgiving. It fell across the parchment like a caress, warming the lines and strokes I had drawn until they seemed less like ink and more like living threads stitched into the fabric of the night. The lantern's glow also touched the river nearby, where it flickered across the ripples in wavering bands of amber. In its company, the world felt smaller, enclosed, held gently within a sphere of light. Into that golden hush came the moths. At first, there was only one, a pale shape, drifting at the edge of vision, drawn toward the lantern's quiet flame. Its wings beat slowly, soundlessly, carrying it in wide arcs before it paused, hovering just inside the circle of light. Soon another arrived, then another, each one gliding in from the darkness as if they had been waiting for this beacon to call them forth. They did not rush. They did not crowd. They moved with a rhythm as patient as the turning of stars. Their wings caught the glow with every flutter, thin and translucent, like fragments of parchment cut into motion. Sometimes they floated close to the glass, basking in its warmth, and sometimes they drifted outward again, dissolving into shadow before reappearing as though the night itself had shaped them anew. I watched them quietly, quill resting in my hand, though no longer moving. Their presence was its own kind of map, lines traced not with ink, but with air, arcs of movement that belonged only to this hour. I thought of how even the smallest creatures followed their own night paths, unseen yet certain. The moth does not need a compass nor a chart. Its wings know the way, guided by light, by instinct, by something older than memory. Their soft dance became my meditation. Each flutter was like a slow breath, lifting and falling, lifting and falling. I found myself inhaling with the rise of a wing, exhaling with its gentle descent. The rhythm was natural, unforced, as though the moths themselves were reminding me how to breathe. Perhaps you feel it too. The breath arriving slowly, the breath leaving slowly, each one lighter than the last. There is no need to hurry it, no need to hold it. It comes, it goes, like wings moving through air, like ripples moving across water, like thoughts moving through the quiet mind. The moths drifted in circles that overlapped, weaving invisible patterns between them. I imagined those patterns as constellations of their own, drawn not across the heavens, but within this small lantern's glow. A star map of wings, a sky of golden arcs. Their flight was gentle, without striving, without destination. They were not searching to arrive anywhere. They were already where they belonged, here in the soft light, here in the still night. And as I breathed with them, I felt a kinship. My ink upon the page, their wings in the air, the stars above, the river below. All were lines in different forms. All were maps in different languages. Each one speaking quietly of the same truth, that there is no need to rush, no need to strive. Then the flames steadied again, and they returned to their quiet rhythm, wings folding and opening, as though the night itself were breathing. The longer I watched, the more time seemed to soften. Minutes slipped into one another like overlapping ripples, until I could not tell where one moment ended and the next began. The moths continued their gentle circling, their unhurried arcs, and I found myself sinking deeper into stillness. Each breath was slower now, each thought quieter, each heartbeat steadier. I let the quill rest fully beside me. There was no need for lines just now. The page could wait. The sky could wait. What mattered was the slow unfolding of wings, the hush of the night, the breath moving in and out as naturally as the moths moving in and out of light. Perhaps you too can let yourself drift with them. Perhaps you can let your own thoughts flutter softly, not clinging, not hurrying, but rising and falling, in and out, just as they do. There is nothing to be held tightly, nothing to be done. Only this rhythm, only this breathing, only this gentle circling. The lantern glowed on, steady and calm, its flame a small sun in the sea of night. Around it, the moths continued their dreamlike orbit, never hurried, never lost. And I, watching them, felt no different. I was another moth in the same light, another presence drawn to the quiet center. Another soul resting within the golden circle of night. So I breathed again, slowly. I let the world blur at the edges. I let the lantern's glow soften in my eyes until it was only warmth. I let the moths become simple movements in the dark, lulling me with their wings. And in that quiet, in that glow, in that rhythm, I felt myself being drawn to, not toward waking, not toward effort, but toward rest, toward ease, toward the sleep that waits gently for us all. The moths drifted on, wings shimmering in and out of lantern light, while my eyes slowly lifted again toward the sky. Beyond the gentle circle of gold, the heavens stretched wide, an endless canvas, yet never hurried, never demanding. The stars glimmered as they always had, scattered like seeds of light across a vast velvet soil. They were not sharp or piercing tonight, but soft, softened further by a thin haze of cloud that brushed them into faint halos. It felt as though the night itself was painting with water, blurring edges, letting the images flow together. I thought of the old stories, the ones people whispered about the stars. Yet as I recalled them, they did not come as tales of thunder or battle, nor with voices raised in warning or wonder. They arrived instead like quiet sketches, like illustrations in a book meant to be opened slowly, page by page, when the body is ready to drift toward rest. There, above, was the great bear, not the fierce hunter of forests, not the roaring beast of legend, but a quiet wanderer, pacing endlessly across the sky. I saw its paws moving without sound, pressing gently into the dark, leaving no mark, only a path of stars. The bear wandered not in search of prey, nor in fear of pursuit. It wandered simply because that is what the night allows, a journey without end, where each step is another star, and each star is another step. I watched it move across the heavens, slow and patient, as though it knew there was no need to arrive anywhere at all. The bear wandered, and the stars remained, quiet, patient, waiting. And there, further across the sky, was the swan. Its wings opened wide, not beating in urgency, but gliding. A long, graceful body stretched out across the night, neck extended as if in a dream of flight. Yet this swan did not struggle against the air. It did not tire nor falter. It drifted endlessly, carried by a river of starlight that needed no current but time itself. I traced the line of its wings with my finger against the air, as though drawing upon the sky itself, feather by feather, star by star. And I felt the hush of its passage, as if even the night grew quieter to let it drift in peace. The swan glided on, its journey never finished, never begun, only a little lower. Near the horizon, another shape stirred, a harp, strings stretched across the night. I could almost hear it, not with the ears, but with the heart. A music without sound, plucked by the passing wind. Each star was a note, faint yet clear, vibrating in the silence. The harp did not call for dance or celebration. Its song was the lull of stillness, the sound of rest. I imagined its strings humming gently, weaving a melody that soothed the wandering bear, that softened the swan's wings, that lulled the moths still circling in lantern light. The heart sang softly, and still the stars remained, quiet, patient, waiting. Further east stretched the archer's bow, curved in readiness. But tonight, there was no arrow drawn, no aim, no release. The bow rested, its string loose, its form nothing more than a graceful arc across the sky. I thought of how even a bow may sleep, how even the instruments of struggle the archer had gone, leaving only the quiet curve, and the stars that shaped it were content to rest there, glowing softly, without haste, without tension. The bow curved in silence, and still the stars remained, quiet, patient, waiting. Then came the twins, two figures side by side, not warriors or heroes, but companions. I saw them simply as two hands clasped in the dark, two presences leaning together, shining with a shared glow. Their story of struggle and sacrifice dissolved, leaving only the image of togetherness. Two lights moving as one, never alone, in their endless walk through the heavens. The twins leaned close, and still the stars remained, quiet, patient, waiting. Each constellation softened into image, image into feeling, feeling into rest. They were no longer stories of striving, no longer lessons to be remembered or warnings to be heeded. They were simple pictures hung across the night, each one a page in a quiet book that opens only when the world has slowed. The bear wandered, the swan glided, the harp sang, the bow curved, the twins leaned close, the crown floated. And all the while, the stars themselves did not move with urgency. They did not demand to be seen. They did not press their light upon me. They remained as they always had, gentle, patient, infinite, waiting for the eyes that might look up, waiting for the breath that might slow, waiting for the mind that might drift toward quiet. I let my gaze soften. The images blurred. The constellations melted back into simple points of light. And in that softening, I felt the truth of them. They have watched countless wanderers before me, countless sleepers before you. They will watch long after with the same patience, the same quiet glow. And so I breathed with them. One more slow breath in, one more slow breath out. I let the bear wander in my chest. I let the swan glide across my thoughts. I let the harp string hum in the silence of my pulse. I let the twins clasp my drifting mind, and I let the crown rest lightly upon the hour. And still, the stars remained. Quiet, patient, waiting. The lantern dimmed behind me as I walked further from the garden. The air cooled with each step, soft currents brushing over my skin, carrying the faint sense of earth and leaves. Ahead stretched the meadow, wide, open, and quiet. Grass swayed in gentle ripples, bending and lifting with the breeze, as though the ground itself were breathing in its sleep. I stepped barefoot into its openness, the blades folding easily beneath my weight. They tickled at my ankles, soft and yielding, never resisting, only welcoming. The meadow did not ask where I had come from, nor why I was here. It simply opened itself, as it always had, a patient field beneath the turning sky. I walked slowly across its center, hearing only the faint rustle of grass and the far whisper of leaves at the meadow's edges. No other sound intruded, not even the hum of insects, not even the call of night birds. Only the hush, deep and complete, the kind of hush that makes the body soften without effort. And then, with a quiet breath, I lowered myself onto the ground. The grass pressed cool against my back, flattening gently under my weight, cradling me as though the earth itself had shaped a resting place. Each blade curved softly around me, cushioning my shoulders, my arms, my legs. The ground was firm but forgiving, solid yet tender, offering its strength without demand. I felt it hold me, and in its hold, there was no burden, no gravity pulling, only support. I let the air fill my lungs, cool, clean, touched with the faint sweetness of meadow herbs and the distant scent of soil, still warmed from the day's sun. Each inhale stretched wide, each exhale fell slow, until my breathing joined the rhythm of the earth itself. Above me stretched the whole of the sky, vast and unbroken. No roof, no walls, no frame, only the endless canopy, its stars scattered in quiet patience. I looked into them, and they looked back without urgency. There was no beginning to their map, no ending to their path, only the endless weave of light upon dark, dark upon light. Lying there, I felt my body soften further. The meadow held me as the sky expanded, and between them, I became small, but not lost. Small in the way a pebble rests within a riverbed, small in the way a single leaf rests among countless others, yet still belongs completely. The grass brushed faintly at my arms as the breeze passed. Somewhere to my left, a hidden leaf shifted, its edges whispering against another. A sound so soft, it might have been imagined. The air cooled further, spreading gently across my skin, like water poured over stone. My chest rose, fell, rose again, and in this stillness, I thought of the sky, not as a puzzle to be solved, not as a chart to be mastered, but as a map without start or finish. A map that does not guide the traveler forward or back, but simply outward, everywhere, all at once. A map that asks no questions, offers no commands, but waits patiently, inviting the eyes to wander as they will. I let mine wander, left to the quiet shimmer of faint stars near the horizon, right to the brighter glow that drew lines of silver through the heavens. I traced nothing, defined nothing, only allowed my gaze to drift. Each star was enough on its own, and as I lay there, I thought perhaps you might be here too. You may lie beside me in the meadow if you wish. There is no effort in it, no need to move quickly, no need to prepare. You may simply imagine the soft grass beneath you, the ground rising up to hold your weight. You may feel the cool air fill your chest, the slow release of each breath. You may look upward without lifting a hand, without turning your head, without doing anything more than letting your eyes drift open toward the sky. And if you close them instead, that too is welcome. For even with closed eyes, the stars remain. They are there, above us, whether seen or unseen, whether counted or forgotten. They wait, always. They do not vanish when unobserved. They do not fade when the lids fall. They remain, patient, until you are ready to look again. The meadow, too, does not mind. It holds the body in waking and in drifting. The earth does not withdraw its strength when eyes grow heavy. It holds all the same, quietly, without condition. So we may lie here together, beneath the stars, with no beginning and no end. Only the vast map above, the soft meadow below, and the gentle rhythm of breath in between. I let my hand rest upon the grass beside me. Each blade was cool, supple, tender against my palm. I closed my fingers slowly, gathering nothing, only feeling. The ground responded by holding me deeper, as though inviting me to sink further into its stillness. And above, the sky stretched ever wider. I could no longer count the stars, nor trace their shapes. They had become too many, too vast. Yet this did not trouble me. The meadow reminded me, it is not the counting that matters, not the naming, not the measuring. It is only the resting, the allowing, the being held by the immensity without fear. The air brushed once more against my face, cool as a river, soft as a sigh. I breathed it in. I let it go. The meadow held me. The sky expanded, and together they whispered, "There is no place you must go, no task you must complete. There is only this, only here, only now." And so I remained, lying in the meadow, looking upward without effort.